Chapter 841. Mom, I want to go home. Seeing these words, Yin Rui's tears flowed out of her eyes. Only now did she realize how much damage her words to Ziyao had caused to Xiaobao. If he hadn't been extremely sad, he wouldn't have written such helpless words. They claimed that they loved Xiaobao the most, but they couldn't even give him a home. Xiaobao didn't even have a sense of belonging here. He was at home, but he said he wanted to go home. Guan Ziyao's attention was on the word mom. She had thought that this woman was just familiar with Xiaobao, but she didn't expect that Xiaobao had already accepted this woman as his mother. No, she had to hurry up. Ningxi didn't want to get involved in such an occasion. She had planned to leave after comforting Xiaobao, but now she completely changed her mind. She wanted to take advantage of this occasion to make everyone dare not look down on Xiaobao anymore. Even if she and Lu Tingxiao couldn't have a smooth journey in the future, she hoped that Xiaobao could be fine even without her. So Ningxi calmed herself down and said to Xiaobao in a very gentle tone, "Baby, be good. This is your home. Besides, today is Grandpa's birthday. We specially prepared a great birthday gift for Grandpa. Have you forgotten?" When Little Bun heard this, he didn't have any reaction. He just hugged Ningxi even tighter. "I'll give the gift to Grandpa with you later, okay?" Ningxi said again. Hearing this, Xiaobao finally rubbed Ningxi's shoulder and nodded in agreement. He wanted to go home. Wherever Xiaobao's mom was, that was home. After comforting Xiaobao, Ningxi looked at the two elders and said worriedly, "Xiaobao might have been outside for a long time, so he must be very cold. He'd better take a hot bath as soon as possible." Yin Rui hurriedly said, "Then come in. Don't stand in the yard." Lu Chongshan was ready to let Xiaobao and Ningxi leave, but he didn't expect that Xiaobao would still stay, so he hurriedly let them in. As long as Xiaobao was willing to stay, even if that woman wanted to use Xiaobao to show her face at the birthday banquet, he would still indulge her. In the banquet hall at the front, the guests had been waiting for too long and had already begun to whisper among themselves. Seeing that Xiaobao's condition had stabilized, Lu Chongshan hurriedly went to the front with Yin Rui to greet the guests. My apologies for making you wait so long. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend my birthday banquet. Elder Lu, you're too kind. It's our honor to be invited by you, sir." After Lu Chongshan's polite greetings, the crowd also warmly congratulated him. On the surface, they didn't show any unusual expressions. However, when they turned their heads, they couldn't help but secretly speculate. "What do you think of what happened tonight? It's said that old Madame Lu's beloved necklace is missing, but it's just a necklace. Does it need several owners to disappear for half a night? Could it be that the young master of the Lu clan is acting up again? Most likely. The Lu clan is really unlucky. They only have one son, and he has turned into a fool. Haha, the Lu clan is so powerful now. How can they not have some dark secrets? I'm afraid that karma has fallen on their descendants." Chapter 842. The Lus are too much. Lu Tingxiao is not even married, and he already has an illegitimate child. Our family didn't even say anything. What you said was for the child's good. It's fine if he's not grateful, but how can you be blamed for something happening to him? Guan Rui was enraged when he heard his daughter's words. "Dad, calm down. Uncle Lu and Auntie Lu did not blame me. They even comforted me and said that it had nothing to do with me. Auntie Lu was very polite to me and was very grateful to me." Guan Ziyao explained hurriedly. Guan Rui's expression softened a little. "That's more like it. Is that woman really that close to Xiaobao?" Guan Ziyao nodded unhappily. "I saw Xiaobao calling her mommy." Guan Rui looked at his daughter and asked in a deep voice, "Ziyao, what do you think is the most important thing for you to do now?" "Build a good relationship with Xiaobao," Guan Ziyao replied. Guan Rui shook his head. "Wrong. Although you are smart, you are still too muddle-headed on this matter. That child is basically a useless person now. What's the use of sucking up to a useless person? That woman already has the child in her hands. Did you see Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui relenting? Even if she is dating Lu Tingxiao, they still did not acknowledge her. They did not even invite her to an event like today, and even tried so hard to use a child to get her to come." Guan Ziyao said solemnly, "This is because that woman's background is too low. Moreover, I can tell that Uncle Lu and Auntie Lu really care about Xiaobao. That's why I want Xiaobao to like me. That way, even Ting Xiao will value me more. Guan Rui sighed and analyzed the situation for her. Xiaobao is the only bloodline of the Lus after all, and he is their flesh and blood. Naturally, they will care about him. It was precisely because they cared about him that the Lu family was more cautious and harsh when it came to choosing his mother. Do you know what the position of the Lu family's future mistress means? So what if that woman makes Xiaobao happy? At most, the Lus can just hire her to be Xiaobao's tutor, or even nanny to take care of him. But is Lu Chongshan that muddle-headed to let her marry into the family? Hearing those words, Guan Ziyao was visibly shaken. Guan Rui patted his daughter's shoulder and said earnestly, "So, Ziyao, don't put the cart before the horse. Right now, the most important thing for you is to make Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui value you more. Of course, if you want to, it'll be easy for you. You've already hit the nail on the head. That woman's family background is too low. No matter how much she jumps around, it's impossible for her to marry into the Lu family. You must be more magnanimous. Don't get upset over such a trivial matter. Even if you marry him in the future, you must have the magnanimity of a mistress. The position of the Lu family's matriarch can only be yours. Do you understand?" "Dad, I understand." Hearing this, Guan Ziyao nodded with a firm gaze. The restlessness in her heart also dissipated. Guan Rui looked at his beloved daughter with a gratified expression. "It's good that you understand." In fact, there was a very important point that he didn't mention. In the future, when Ziyao married into the Lu family and had children with Lu Tingxiao, with the genes of the Guan family, would there be any children that Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui wouldn't like? By then, their attention would naturally shift from that wastrel. Chapter 843. Dong, dong, dong. Someone knocked on the door. Ningxi walked over and opened the door. At the door, a little maid stood there with a bowl of soup in her hand. "Miss Ning, this is the ginger soup that Madam asked the kitchen to cook. It can drive away the cold." "Ah, thank you. Sorry to trouble you. I'll let the young master drink it immediately after his bath. It's nothing. It's my duty." The little maid bowed respectfully and left. Ningxi put the ginger soup on the table and knocked on the bathroom door. "Lu Tingxiao, are you done?"
Yes.
Lu Tingxiao's voice came from inside. A moment later, Lu Tingxiao came out with Xiaobao, who had just finished a hot bath. Xiaobao was wrapped in a big bath towel. His hair was slightly wet and fragrant, and he was held in Papa's arms. Seeing this, Ningxi immediately covered her heart. Lu Tingxiao, I want to hug you. I want to hug you." Xiaobao immediately stretched out his little hands and wanted to be hugged by Mama. Lu Tingxiao gently sent Xiaobao to Ningxi's arms. Ningxi carried the little bun over and kissed the little fellow's rosy cheeks. Then, she fed him the ginger soup. "Baby, this soup tastes a little bad, but it can drive away the cold. It's good for your body." Xiaobao did not resist at all and drank it all in one breath. Ningxi happily applauded and praised, "Baby, you're great. It tastes bad, but you drank it all." After Xiaobao finished his bath, drank the ginger soup, and changed his clothes, he had recovered most of his energy. Ningxi looked at the time. "Lu Tingxiao, take Xiaobao to the front to entertain the guests." "Okay." Lu Tingxiao nodded and did not ask any more about Ningxi's decision to let Xiaobao stay. Hearing this, Xiaobao's little face immediately showed some nervousness. Ningxi smiled and rubbed his little head. "Don't worry, you go down with Papa first. Mama will come to find you soon after changing clothes." Xiaobao's slightly uneasy eyes immediately calmed down. He nodded obediently and let Papa hold his little hand. After comforting little Bun, Ningxi looked at her fingers and looked at Lu Tingxiao hesitantly. "That, Mr. Boss, let me tell you in advance. Later, I might have to do something that might offend someone." Lu Tingxiao, "Yeah, I'm here." Ningxi, why does the great Demon King give me a sense of déjà vu? But what if she became even more charming? This feeling of having someone to support you even if you pierce through the sky, isn't it too good? Hey, why didn't I see President Lu tonight? I haven't seen him for a long time. Maybe he hasn't arrived yet. In the banquet hall, Lu Tingxiao was still nowhere to be seen. Many people started to ask him why he was not here. After all, it was his father's 60th birthday, and Lu Tingxiao was the current leader of the Lu family. It was unreasonable for him to not show up. At the same time, everyone was even more certain of their previous guesses. Sure enough, something must have happened to that little prince. A trace of worry lingered between Lu Chongshan's brows as he listened to the people around him asking questions one after another. He did not know how Xiao Bao was doing. Tingxiao? Lu Chongshan was just about to find an excuse to explain to the crowd, but before he could say anything, he suddenly saw two familiar figures, one big and one small, at the door. Immediately, some sharp-eyed people also noticed it and couldn't help but exclaim, "Aya, President Lu is here." The child beside President Lu is? In an instant, everyone in the hall looked in the direction of the door. Chapter 844. Lu Tingxiao was dressed in a black suit with a tie in front of his chest as the only bright color. His face was expressionless, and he was as cold and distant as ever. And at this moment, this cold and aloof man was actually holding the hand of a little boy who did not match his cold and indifferent feeling at all. The child was about 5 or 6 years old and looked like a boy who had walked out of a portrait of Guani. He had fair skin and big eyes. He was wearing the same vintage British suit as Lu Tingxiao and looked like a young gentleman from the Middle Ages. Most importantly, although the child's facial features were young and adorable, one could tell at a glance that he and his father beside him seemed to have been carved from the same appearance. Especially that 30% cold, 70% arrogant little expression. It was simply like a god's will. Needless to say, one could tell who he was just by looking at his little face. He was definitely the legendary little prince of the Lu family. In the face of such a big banquet scene and the burning gazes of so many people, the little boy's expression did not change at all. He followed his father calmly and had an amazing aura at such a young age. He was indeed a child who was nurtured by the Lu family's environment. For a moment, this thought flashed through everyone's mind. But it was strange. Wasn't it rumored that the young master of the Lu family was silly and hid at home all day? How did he look like a silly child? When Lu Tingxiao had already walked down the stairs with Xiao Bao, the crowd finally recovered from the shock and almost flocked to surround the father and son enthusiastically. "Oh, this is Qingyu, right? He's already so big. I remember the last time we met was 5 years ago at the little boy's 1-month birthday party. Time flies. Qingyu, do you still remember me? When you came to play at my house when you were 3 years old, I even carried you." Many of the elderly guests who were at the level of grandparents sighed. "When I saw little Qingyu just now, I thought I saw Tingxiao. He looks exactly like Tingxiao when he was a child. Isn't that right? Xiao Sisi, the clothes you wanted are ready. I spent a lot of effort to borrow them from Xiaorong and was almost suspected of being a pervert." Lu Jingli held a maid costume in his hand and looked sad. Ningxi hurriedly ran over to take the clothes and looked at them with satisfaction. "That's great. You've worked hard. Little Sisi, you're not really going to wear this thing, are you? Although I think your uniform is very tempting. My brother will probably like it. But on such an occasion today, you really don't want to think about killing Guan Ziyao in a flash? I can immediately get you a full set of outfits and a professional stylist." Lu Jingli's eyes lit up. Ningxi glanced at Lu Jingli, who was even more excited than she was. "No need, thank you. It's more convenient for me to show off in this outfit." With that, his eyes flickered and he said faintly, "Tonight is not my home field." Lu Jingli was confused. "Huh, then whose? You'll know soon enough. Back off quickly. This empress is going to change." Cha. Lu Jingli swiftly rolled away. Oh, he suddenly looked forward to his brother seeing little Cici in a maid costume. He had personally designed and selected the materials for all the servants' uniforms in the Lu family, especially the maid uniform, which he had spent a lot of effort on. Chapter 845. Within the banquet hall, practically all the guests present were extremely interested in Xiao Bao. Moreover, when they saw that the little fellow was extremely cute like a white and soft little bun, and even his solemn expression was extremely cute, they couldn't help but move closer to tease him. Even if the child was scared out of his mind, he was undoubtedly a lovable child. Looking at the people around him talking and Xiaoxi's mama not coming, Xiaobao's face gradually showed a bit of impatience, and his little hand, which was originally held by Lu Tingxiao, also wanted to break free from his control. He didn't want to stay here. Lu Tingxiao, who was entertaining the guests, noticed the little guy's mood, looked down at his son, and said in a low voice, "Wait a minute." Xiao Bao blinked his eyes and could only continue to entertain with Papa unhappily. Xiao Bao had been in a bad mood and didn't say a word from beginning to end, which became more and more obvious. Some attentive guests naturally noticed and asked with concern, "Boss Lu, why does little Qing you look not very well tonight? Is he not feeling well? If he is not feeling well, let the child go to rest first. Don't force yourself." Guan Rui also advised. Yes, health matters. Amidst the sympathetic gazes and comforting voices that expressed understanding, the girl's clear and melodious voice that sounded like a silver bell suddenly came, "Young master, I'm coming." At the door, a little girl in a maid's uniform was trotting all the way in their direction. The girl's hair was tied in 2 ponytails, her eyes were clear and bright, and her little face was white and rosy. She looked very young and stood in front of Lu Tingxiao, panting with a very respectful look. "Young master?" Lu Tingxiao coughed lightly and finally recovered from the unexpected temptation of his wife's uniform. Lu Tingxiao handed his son to Ning Shi, who was about to run out like a runaway pony after seeing Ning Shi, and said calmly, "Well, take the young master to eat something." "Yes, young master." "Young master, come with me." Ning Shi bent down, reached out to Xiao Bao, and secretly winked at him. Little Baozi raised his little head and looked at Mama, his eyes sparkling with surprise. He revealed a big smile, then happily handed his little hand to Mama and obediently followed Mama to the food area. Watching Ning Shi and Xiao Bao leave happily, Lu Tingxiao stood on the spot, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect that she would choose to accompany Xiao Bao in this way. However, it was indeed something that she could do. Oh, no wonder Xiao Bao has been depressed tonight. He's hungry. Kids are still growing. They can't go hungry. Lu Chongshan, who had been tense all this while, finally heaved a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "My child is too boring and doesn't like to talk." He had thought that Ning Shi would definitely take advantage of tonight to dress glamorously and even stick to Tingxiao's side to declare her identity as his girlfriend. He never imagined that she would actually use this identity to accompany Xiao Bao. He couldn't help but feel a little surprise. "Ha ha ha, he's just like Tingxiao when he was young." Lu Chongshan laughed. "It's not the same. Tingxiao was much more boring than Qingyu back then." Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Some old friends talked about the interesting things that happened between Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli when they were young, and the atmosphere became warm again. So it was hereditary. Suddenly, the reason for Xiao Bao's cold personality was also explained. It wasn't so abrupt anymore. Chapter 846. In a secluded corner of the banquet hall. "What did you say? That little maid is Tingxiao's girlfriend?" "Yes, but I don't know why she showed up dressed like this." Guan Ziyao looked vigilant. She felt that the woman was not as simple as she looked. Guan Rui said contemptuously, "Do you have to ask? Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui don't acknowledge her. How dare she show up with Tingxiao in public? She can only pretend to be a servant. Ziyao, you don't have to waste your time on such a character. You should focus on." Guan Rui was talking to his daughter when Lu Tingxiao suddenly came over. "Uncle Guan, it's my father's birthday tonight. Thank you for coming." Guan Rui was very happy to see Lu Tingxiao come over to greet him alone. He said with a smile, "Tingxiao, you're too polite. I'm your father's friend, and I don't need to be polite." After a few words of greeting, Lu Tingxiao suddenly waved at someone not far away. Ning Shi was eating with Xiao Bao when she saw Lu Tingxiao waving at her. She was a little suspicious, so she said something to the little bun and ran over. "Young master, what can I do for you?" Guan Rui and Guan Ziyao also looked at Lu Tingxiao suspiciously, wondering why he called this woman over. Did he want her to pour wine and fetch food? Lu Tingxiao took a gentle look at the girl beside him and then looked at Guan Rui, introducing, "Uncle Guan, this is my girlfriend, Ning Shi. Staosi, this is Uncle Guan, my father's best friend. You don't need to pretend in front of him. Alas, what did the devil want to do? Why did he introduce her to Guan Rui? Was he trying to piss Guan Rui and Guan Xiao off on purpose? Well, okay. Maybe he was doing it on purpose. Ningxi was a little surprised. Then she followed Lu Tingxiao's words and greeted him obediently. Hello, Uncle Guan. Okay. Guan Rui's face darkened at once. What did Lu Tingxiao mean? He knew that the Lu family and the Guan family wanted to unite by marriage, but he still deliberately introduced this woman to him. However, even though he was so angry that he almost vomited blood, he couldn't say a word. After all, Lu Tingxiao's behavior was polite. Go and play with Xiaobao. After saying goodbye, Lu Tingxiao let Ningxi go back. Then, as if he didn't notice the look on Guan Rui and Guan Xiao's faces, Lu Tingxiao continued unhurriedly, Uncle Guan, I'm sorry. Although I want to introduce her to everyone, Xiaoxi attaches great importance to her work. Because of her profession, we can't make it public for the time being. As a man, I can only feel wronged. Yes, there's nothing we can do about it. Guan Rui was so angry that his fingers were trembling as he held the wine glass, but he still had to act like an elder. Guan Xiao's composure was slightly weaker, and her face had already turned pale. In the end, Guan Rui took a deep breath and regained his composure. He raised his wine glass and put on a fake smile. Ting Xiao, as an elder, I can't help but remind you that with this girl's lowly background, I'm afraid she's not worthy of you. I'm afraid your parents will never agree to it, right? You know, nowadays, young girls, especially in that circle, all come for money. It's okay for them to play, but if they take it seriously, it's too inappropriate. Lu Tingxiao took an inscrutable look at Guan Rui and said indifferently, Thank you for your concern. In terms of status, I'm not worthy of her. It's me who's not worthy of Xiaoxi. Chapter 847. After saying this, Lu Tingxiao nodded and took his leave. Guan Rui and Guan Xiao stood rooted to the ground and looked at each other. Lu Tingxiao, what did he mean? What did Lu Tingxiao mean by that? Isn't this woman the adopted daughter who was kicked out of the Ning family? Guan Rui frowned. I don't think she's an adopted daughter. Guan Xiao muttered. Guan Rui snorted. I thought she was someone important. Even if she's the Ning family's biological daughter, she can't even compare to a finger of yours. But from what Tingxiao said, this woman seems to have another identity. Guan Rui thought about it and said, I'll look into it later. You don't have to worry about it. That kid is still young and impetuous. He probably doesn't want to listen to his family's arrangements, so he purposely used this to annoy me. How many families in the entire capital city were not worthy of the Lu family? The number of fingers on one hand could be counted. Not a single one of them can be related to someone like Ningxi. The banquet continued and the atmosphere was warm and harmonious. That night, most people had their eyes on the young master of the Lu family, who rarely showed up. Some people even hoped that the kid would embarrass himself tonight out of jealousy. Unfortunately, they were disappointed. Ever since Xiaobao was brought over by Ningxi, he had been obedient and no different from a normal child. It seemed that his condition had stabilized after 2 years of treatment. Otherwise, the Lu family wouldn't have dared to let him show up. Other than the young master of the Lu family, the focus of the night was the genius from the Guan family who had recently returned to the capital. A top student was indeed a top student. He didn't forget to study even when he was attending a banquet. He heard that there were many powerful people tonight, so he brought along a few math problems that he couldn't solve for many days. Many guests were interested and gathered around him, eager to try. Oh my God, are these math problems in middle school? That's sick. The students nowadays are so pitiful. Ha ha ha, Imo Lingtian, you're such a bad student. You can't even understand the questions. This is a university course, and it's a competition question. A rich man mocked him mercilessly. Imo Lingtian's mouth twitched. Okay. It's not that the questions are sick. It's that the little genius from the Guan family is too sick. I think I made one. Is the answer to the first question -9? A bespectacled teenager came over and asked excitedly. Guan Jichin kept a straight face and shook his head. No, the answer to this question is 0. It's not right again. The youngster looked disappointed. I've already thought of the solution for this question. I can teach you, but I still can't solve the second question. Old Guan, this grandson of yours is really incredible. Not far away, a few guests looked at the lively children over there, and all of them had an envious expression on their faces. Lu Chongshan also praised, like father, like son. Guan Rue said helplessly, he's almost becoming a bookworm. I'm having a headache too. Originally, we purposely brought him out to relax. Who knew that when Ziyao and I weren't paying attention, he would run off to do questions again? Sigh. Old Guan, your words are so annoying. That brat of mine would rather be beaten up 3 times a day than read for even a minute. How can your son compare to old Guan's? His IQ is 180, and he won an international mathematics prize when he was only 10 years old. Chapter 848. He's impressive indeed. I think he's even better than Tingxiao back then. The new generation really excels the old. A guest who was on good terms with the Guan family exclaimed. As the host, Lu Chongshan had been complimenting Guan Rue along with everyone else. After all, they were going to be family in the future. But when he heard this, he sneered inwardly. Even better than Tingxiao when he was young? Wasn't he afraid of biting his own tongue? Lu Chongshan was disdainful, but he didn't show it on his face. Of course he's better than Tingxiao. Guan Rue waved his hands with a smile. Sigh, stop praising him. He's getting more and more ridiculous. How can he compare to Tingxiao? If he can be half as capable as his uncle Xiao, I'll wake up laughing in my dreams. Chairman Guan, you're too modest. If this kid continues to develop like this, he'll definitely have a bright future. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but for a family like ours, the most important thing isn't how much money we earn or how big the family business is. The most important thing is our people. Only when our children and grandchildren are capable will the family business prosper. If our children and grandchildren are not capable, then no matter how big the family business is, it won't be able to withstand a few generations of failure. That's right. That's the logic. So, old Guan is really blessed. Whether it's Ziyao, Zaheo, or Jichin, they're all so outstanding. He doesn't need to worry about them. Isn't that right? Unlike us, we're already so old and we still have to worry about those few brats at home. This guest's words were immediately echoed by everyone. At the same time, everyone couldn't help but think of the Lu family's lack of children. Their only grandson's condition was still worrying. So what if they were the wealthiest family in the capital? No matter how capable Lu Tingxiao was, he could only last 1 or 2 generations at most. Over at the Lu family's side, there were a few powerful side branches and the elders of the company. They were all eyeing Lu Tingxiao like tigers watching their prey. If Lu Tingxiao didn't have a successor who could control the situation, then this huge family would fall into chaos. It could even collapse overnight. There were many examples like this. No one could predict how the power structure and power would be reorganized in the future. Somewhere in the banquet hall, Ningxi watched a group of people flattering the Guan family. She knew her chance had come. Imo Lingtian and the other childs were all stumped by the 13-year-old Guan Jichin's math problem and were despised by their parents. They couldn't help but feel ashamed. In the end, Imo Lingtian had no choice but to helplessly spread his hands and said, Jichin, we are all bad students. Even if some of us studied well at that time, we have all forgotten it after so many years. Why don't you ask your aunt? She definitely knows it. Guan Jichin glanced at Guan Ziyao and mumbled unwillingly, My aunt said she had explained this question to me, but I still couldn't solve it. She was angry with me and refused to teach me. I see. Imo Lingtian was helpless. Then, he suddenly thought of something and slapped his head. I remember now. Your Uncle Xiao definitely knows how. Where's Lu Tingxiao? Guan Ziyao glanced at Imo Lingtian and said disapprovingly, Tingxiao is so busy. Don't bother him. Jichin really shouldn't be unable to solve this question. Let him think about it himself. Ziyao, you're too strict. How old is Jichin? Imo Lingtian said helplessly. Chapter 849. As for the other guests, they couldn't help but feel awe and admiration for the Guan family's way of education. This is the real elite education of a wealthy family. He is so strict with his only grandson. He is not arrogant at all. No wonder he is so excellent. Hey, old Guan, how do you educate your children? Let's learn from you. When the guests were discussing with Guan Rue about child-rearing, a girl's clear voice suddenly came from the crowd. Child Emo, I heard that you were looking for our first young master. What's the matter? He went out to greet the guests. If it's urgent, I can tell him for you. Oh, it's nothing urgent. It's just a math problem. Ahem. You, little white rabbit, why are you here? Emo Lingtian lowered his voice, as if he had seen a ghost when he saw the little maid who was talking to him. He almost didn't recognize this lass after she changed into such a disguise. Ningxi ignored Emo Lingtian's question and continued to act like a conscientious little maid. She glanced at the exercise in Emo Lingtian's hand and said, "This question looks quite easy. I don't think we need to call first young master. I'll ask first young master to help us. Is that okay?" What? Emo Lingtian looked as if he had heard it wrong. Who did you say? Xiaobao? Ningxi nodded obediently. Yes, young master Qingyu. Emo Lingtian didn't have time to ask why Ningxi was dressed like this. He kindly reminded her, little girl, look carefully. Well, you probably can't understand it. Anyway, this is not a kindergarten math problem. It's advanced math, and it's a competition question. Child Emo, don't worry. First young master is very good. Ningxi blinked and then looked down at Xiaobao beside her. First young master, this little brother doesn't know how to solve a question. He looks worried. Can you help him? Xiaobao nodded. As soon as Ningxi appeared, Lu Chongshan frowned. After knowing what she was going to do, he felt that it was absurd. Suppressing his anger, he hurriedly stopped her. It's none of your business. Don't disturb the guests here. Take the young master somewhere else to play. Quickly go down. Seeing the maid's almost brainless behavior, the other guests looked at Lu Chongshan sympathetically. Most of them were gloating as though it had nothing to do with them. Why did the Lu family find such a muddle-headed servant to take care of the little prince? Was it because fools were easier to communicate with fools? Guan Rue and Guan Ziyao secretly looked at each other. Originally, they were quite afraid of this woman, but now they didn't care about her at all. Guan Jichen immediately felt insulted when he saw that the little maid of the Lu family actually called a child to help him and insisted that he was very capable and would definitely be able to do it. After all, he was still young and impatient, so he handed the book over in annoyance. You said that he can help me? All right, then let him try it. Guan Ziyao tried to smooth things over. Jichen, don't make a fuss. Qingyu is only 5 years old. I've made a fool of myself. Lu Chongshan had never felt so humiliated before. It's okay. It's just a little girl who didn't read the question clearly. Guan Rue said generously. Oh, this woman probably did this to please Lu Chongshan. But it turned out that a low-level girl who couldn't even understand the question still wanted to do this job. She was so stupid, however. Just then, there were a few scattered exclamations in the crowd. Chapter 850. While everyone was talking, Xiaobao wrote down a number on the exercise book that Ningxi handed over. Qingyu wrote a 0. What's the correct answer? I remember it's 0, right? That's right. It's 0. Qingyu got it right. Guan Rue, Guan Ziyao, Guan Jichen, and even Lu Chongshan were shocked. Guan Jichen frowned. Little brother Qingyu, can't you just tell me not to scribble on the exercise book? Guan Jichen didn't think it was a 0 at all. As for the others, including Lu Chongshan, they also thought that Xiaobao probably wrote it casually. Ningxi looked at the answer on the exercise book and bent down. She said gently to Xiaobao, Little young master, you can't do this. This little brother doesn't know how to solve this problem. You should write down the steps to solve the problem in detail. Only then can you help little brother. Xiaobao blinked his eyes, glanced at Mama, and then very cooperatively buried his little head and began to scribble. As Xiaobao wrote more and more on the exercise book, The expressions of those who were originally waiting to watch a good show changed from attentiveness to surprise, from surprise to shock, and finally to horror. Some people even couldn't help but push to the front with their eyes wide open, stretching their necks to watch, especially Imo Lingtian. His eyes widened so much that his eyeballs were almost glued to the exercise book. What the fuck? Is Xiao Bao possessed by Archimedes? Guan Ziao glanced at Xiao Bao from the corner of her eyes. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something several times but couldn't. She didn't dare to disturb Xiao Bao for a moment. Everyone's eyes were focused on the little figure in the middle. The air was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Xiao Bao's expression was one of complete concentration. He was completely immersed in his own world and wasn't disturbed by those gazes in the slightest. The pen in his little hand was like a flower as he wrote out string after string of complicated formulas. After a while, Xiao Bao finally finished writing and put down the answer, 0. He then raised his head and looked at Mama. Ning Shi gave Little Bun a praising look, then bent over to take the book from Xiao Bao and handed it to Guan Jichin with a smile. Young Master Guan, can you understand it this time? In the blank space of the book, Xiao Bao clearly wrote a series of detailed steps to solve the problem. Because Aunt Xiaoxi specially told him to write in detail, he even pointed out a few places with arrows and wrote supplementary statements in brackets. He was teaching Guan Jichin as a kindergartner. Soon, the exercise book was spread around by the guests who couldn't wait to see what was going on. Because Xiao Bao's problem-solving steps were so detailed that even the flunkies could understand it, they praised him on the spot. Fuck. Amazing. Even a trash like me could understand it. I thought that I couldn't even compare to a 13-year-old child, but reality has proven me wrong. I can't even compare to a 5-year-old child, and this problem-solving technique is so brilliant. It shouldn't be a conventional method, right? Miss Guan, what do you think? Is this problem solved correctly? Guan Ziao looked at the exercise book and then at the cute little fellow in Ning Shi's hand. She was so surprised that she said with some difficulty, completely correct. And every step is very rigorous and perfect, without the slightest flaw. Chapter 851. She could almost see Lu Tingxiao from back then. The father and son's problem-solving style was exactly the same, but Xiao Bao was only 5 years old this year. This was just too shocking. Guan Ziyao's words caused an uproar. What the hell? This little guy really did it? Not only that, he even received such high praise from Guan Ziyao. This was simply unbelievable. But they had all seen Xiao Bao write down the steps of solving the problem with their own eyes. They had no choice but to believe it, compared to Guan Rui's clearly planned act of bringing his grandson to show his face in a high society setting. Xiao Bao's completely unintentional display of skill clearly brought about a greater shock to the crowd. Immediately, everyone surrounded Lu Chongshan. Wow, old Lu. So you're the one who's been hiding the most. No wonder you've been hiding it from us all the time. This grandson of yours is simply a little prodigy. The genes of the Lu family are too powerful. He's a genius. He's not just a genius anymore, okay? He's almost nature-defying. I was still playing in the mud when I was 5 years old. At this very moment, Lu Chongshan was truly unable to describe his current feelings as he listened to the unceasing torrent of praises. It was as if he had finally vented out all the anger that he had suppressed for a long time. Sai, you've really wronged me. I really didn't know about this. This kid probably learned it from reading books. Qingyu's personality is just like his father's when he was young. He has his own ideas. It's not that I don't want to interfere, it's that I can't. I can only let him be. Lu Chongshan had a helpless expression on his face. You don't need to care about this. He's completely self-taught. This is the truth of the saying, geniuses are all different. As expected of the Lu family. If it weren't for that little maid being ignorant and blurting it out, who would know that this kid is actually so good? Haven't you heard that being low-key is the best way to show off? Today, there's actually someone who dares to say that Guan Jichin is more talented than Lu Tingxiao. He can't even compare to his 5-year-old son. On the other side, the female customers were even more excited. Their eyes were almost shining as they stared at Little Bun. Oh my God, Lu Tingxiao's genes are too good. I really want to steal his seed. Aya, you're so dirty. How am I dirty? Do you dare to say you don't want to? So what if you stole it? Can you guarantee that you won't drag down the child's IQ? Speaking of which, I'm even more curious about this child's mother. Her genes must be pretty good. As soon as Lu Jingli entered the room, he saw this scene. Ningxi calmly took control of the situation and reversed the situation. He was amazed. What the hell? Brother Shi's acting skills are superb. Acting like I'm the good guy, you've slapped the Guan family's face swollen. He finally knew why she had to dress like this to hide beside Xiaobao tonight. He finally knew whose home field it was tonight. Little Cece was determined to help Xiaobao get back at him. Lu Tingxiao, on the other hand, looked calm and collected. He had an expression that said, "Of course my wife is amazing." Lu Jingli suddenly thought of this question and muttered suspiciously, "Little Cece, what if Xiaobao doesn't know how to do it?" Lu Tingxiao glanced at him and then said expressionlessly, "Will my son be so useless?" Lu Jingli, fuck. The lovey-dovey maniac now had another lovey-dovey son. He couldn't go on like this. Chapter 852. After torturing Guanjichen, Ningxi finally felt a little better. Guanjichen, the genius boy, was not satisfied after being taught a lesson by Xiaobao. He found several more so-called more difficult questions to test Xiaobao. Finally, he was taught a lesson by Xiaobao again. In the end, those who had surrounded Guanjichen all squeezed to Xiaobao's side, and some even tried to touch the genius to gain some pride, which made Ningxi speechless. What was rare was that little steamed bun was very patient. Even though he was surrounded by so many people chattering away, he didn't show the slightest bit of impatience. His little face was still as calm as the wind. At such a young age, he had an unfathomable appearance, which amused everyone even more. As long as his little hand was held by Mama, there was only Mama in his eyes. It didn't matter to him how noisy others were. I didn't expect Xiaobao to be so awesome. It's said that boys who are good at math are the most attractive. It turns out that boys are also the same. It's so cool. I really want to rub his little face. He's so charming when he keeps a straight face and doesn't speak. Xiaobao had gained a large number of sister fans, and even several of them clamored to be his godmother. There were even countless of them who wanted to be his godmother. For a moment, Guanjichen was completely ignored. Seeing that the praise and halo that should have belonged to him were all taken away by this child, the teenager's face became more and more gloomy. Just as everyone was surrounding Little Bun, he suddenly opened his mouth and said faintly, "I read that autistic children often have some special abilities that are different from ordinary people. It turns out that it's true." Guanjichen's voice wasn't low, so basically everyone present heard what he said. All of a sudden, the warm atmosphere became extremely cold, and everyone had an awkward look on their faces. Hearing Guanjichen's words, Ningxi's pupil shrank, while Lu Chongshan felt as if he had been slapped heavily in the face. His gratified expression froze on his face. But this child was Guan Rui's most precious grandson. Even if he was furious at this moment, he couldn't lose his temper. Guan Rui and Guan Ziao also changed their faces in an instant. Guan Ziao hurriedly ran over, pulled Guanjichen over, and said sternly, "Jichen, what nonsense are you talking about?" Guan Rui's expression was also unusually serious. "Jichen, hurry up and apologize to your brother. Where did you hear all this nonsense from?" It was fine as long as everyone had a tacit understanding about this matter. Telling Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui in private was a sign of concern. However, if they were to bring it up in public, it would be obvious that they were purposely trying to humiliate the Lu clan. Moreover, this matter was Lu Chongshan's reverse scale. Guanjichen had never been so humiliated, nor had he been scolded in public by his grandfather and aunt. His face was full of indignation. That was what was written in the book. This little boy had autism to begin with. What did he say wrong? Guanjichen continued to speak loudly. "I'm not talking nonsense. He has autism. Otherwise, why would he not speak? Why is it always this servant who helps him pass on the message?" Guanjichen lost control of his emotions, and the scene was extremely awkward. Everyone looked at each other, and didn't even know what to say to smooth things over. No one had expected things to develop to this point. Guan Jichin had actually revealed the Lu clan's most secretive and shameful matter on such an occasion. Chapter 853. Pa. Guan Rui gave Guan Jichin a heavy slap. Shut up. I told you to apologize to your brother. Did you hear me? It's fine if others gossip in private, but how could you believe them so easily? Your brother Qingyu is perfectly fine. How does he look sick? No matter how much he cared about his grandson, he had to say something in order to save the situation. At the same time, an undetectable glint flashed across Guan Rui's eyes. Although Lu Chongshan was a little unhappy with the way things had turned out today, Lu Qingyu could be said to be completely crippled in front of everyone. He had effortlessly helped Ziyao get rid of a successor. However, Jichin had to suffer a little. Guan Jichin didn't come back to his senses for a long time. His face was full of disbelief. Grandpa, you hit me. Although Guan Rui always looked very strict to him in front of outsiders, he was actually very obedient to him at home. This was the first time he had hit him since he was a child, and it was because of this damn mute. Since Guan Rui had already done this, as an elder, Lu Chongshan naturally couldn't be calculative with a child. It would seem ungentlemanly. His fingers that were holding the walking stick trembled slightly. He said in a low voice, "Forget it. Jichin is young. It's fine. But this kind of words is too hurtful. Jichin, you really should apologize to our Xiaobao." Yin Ruyu looked at her precious grandson, whose hand was held tightly by Ning Shi. She was full of regret. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have let Xiaobao appear tonight. She overestimated the existence of this woman and forgot that there were countless uncertain factors. If she had known this earlier, she would rather hide Xiaobao at home and not see anyone for the rest of his life. She wouldn't want him to suffer these injuries. At most, she would raise Xiaobao for the rest of his life. Guan Ziyao knew that Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui wouldn't be calculative on the surface, but they would definitely be very unhappy in private. She hurriedly persuaded, "Jichin, listen to me and apologize to Brother Qingyu. You really made a mistake on this matter." "Ahem, yes, Qingyu is your brother. You should love and protect your brother." Emo Lingtian also said, "Fuck you, Guan Jichin. What a shitty child. I'm also a child. Damn it. I'm going to beat him up. That old bastard Guan Rui definitely did it on purpose." Lu Jingli couldn't take it anymore. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush forward when Lu Tingxiao grabbed his wrist. "Brother, what are you doing? Your son and my nephew have been bullied to this extent." Lu Jingli was extremely agitated. Lu Tingxiao's eyes were like a deep pool, quietly looking in the direction of Little Bao and Ning Shi, not the slightest expression on his face. Guan Jichin couldn't stand that everyone was speaking up for the little mute. She was so agitated that she broke free from Guan Ziyao, who was holding her, and shouted, "He's autistic, sick, and mute. If not, then why didn't he say anything? If he can talk to me, I will apologize to him. Otherwise, I absolutely won't accept it. I wasn't wrong." Guan Jichin kept forcing Xiaobao to talk to him. His crazed voice reverberated throughout the hall. After a long time, Guan Rui had already achieved the effect he wanted. He knew that he couldn't go overboard. Just as he was about to send Guan Jichin home, in the silent air, an apathetic and childish voice slowly rang out, "You're not worthy." That voice was abnormally raw and immature, slightly hoarse and even childish, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. Chapter 854. He spoke. In an instant, everyone present was stunned. Guan Ziyao's face was full of surprise. Guan Jichin, who was still yelling just now, suddenly fell silent as if his throat was choked. He actually spoke, this little mute. He actually said that he didn't deserve to speak. The confident expression on Guan Rui's face was completely shattered in an instant. How was that possible? Before he returned to the country, he had already spent a lot of time secretly investigating this child's situation. He confirmed that after the kidnapping incident, This child's condition was very serious, and he hadn't spoken for a whole 2 years. With such poor mental endurance, he just heard the contents of Xiao and Yin Ruyu's conversation and disappeared without a trace. In that kind of situation just now, not only did he not lose control on the spot, but he actually said those 3 words. In an instant, the situation that was originally a foregone conclusion was suddenly reversed. So handsome. Someone in the crowd let out a cry of surprise. Then, this exclamation was like a switch, and the excited discussion at the scene sounded like boiling water. Oh my God, he was only a 5-year-old toddler. He's so cute, but in that instant just now, he was so domineering, so handsome. I really want to marry him. Why didn't I be born 10 years later? Sob, sob, sob. Lu Tingxiao is too difficult to conquer. There's definitely no hope. I don't know if the little baby mind dating a younger brother. At this moment, Xiao Bao's little face that was like a glutinous rice ball was tinged with a faint arrogance that was 90% of his father's power. After he finished speaking, he didn't even look at Guanjichin, who was standing there staring at him with wide eyes. He directly held Ning Shi's hand, walked through the excited crowd, and calmly left. His small back exuded an extremely powerful aura. Oh, wow, Xiao Bao is so handsome. Lu Jingli excitedly hugged his brother next to him. Lu Tingxiao's gaze passed through the crowd and met Ning Shi's for a second, then immediately reached out to push away Lu Jingli's excited face that was almost kissing him. His cold expression subtly softened a little, and his cold expression was like the first spring snow melting. Am I the only one who feels that it's good to vent my anger? That Guanjichin really went a little too far just now. Even if he really has autism, he shouldn't have deliberately poked at his wounds. He even forced the other party to speak. How could he speak when he was so autistic? Does he get so much pleasure from proving that he's sick? Exactly. What genius youth. What good upbringing. What excellent conduct and learning. Would a child with excellent academic performance be so unforgiving? It was just a question that had been solved by someone else, yet he was so embarrassed that he flew into a rage. Who does he think he is? The entire earth revolves around him. Not only is he narrow-minded, but he's also vicious. How could he do this to a 5-year-old child? The little crown prince is right. He's not worthy at all. Not bad, not bad. Fortunately, the rumors were just rumors. Not only was the crown prince fine, but he was also a peerless genius. His IQ and EQ are way ahead of him. Many people couldn't bear the sight of Guanjichin's behavior just now, especially those who saw such a cute child like Xiaobao being bullied. Their motherly love instantly overflowed, and they criticized Guanjichin's character one after another. Chapter 855. Guan Rui had planned to take this opportunity to destroy Xiaobao. However, he did not expect to go for wool and come home shorn. Not only did it not affect Xiaobao at all, but it also caused Guanjichin to be hated by others. Guan Rui came back to his senses in time. He looked at Lu Chongshan with a troubled expression and said earnestly, "Brother Lu, I'm really sorry about this. My Jichin is still young, and he's too straightforward. Once he's set his mind on something, he's stubborn to the end. I've told him so many times, but he just can't change it. His teacher always says that his stubborn personality may be a good thing in academics, but it's a big problem when it comes to interpersonal relationships." After Guan Rui said that, Guanjichin's arrogant, immodest, and intolerant personality became insistent and straightforward. Lu Chongshan was still immersed in the great shock and joy of his baby speaking. However, he knew that he could not show too much surprise, or else he would be tacitly admitting that Xiaobao was autistic like everyone else. Hence, he maintained a calm expression. "Haha, Brother Guan, you're too serious. It's also my Qingyu's fault. His personality is exactly like his father's, except that he doesn't like to talk since he was young. We rarely hear him speak at home, so it's no wonder that Jichin would have this misunderstanding." Lu Chongshan said. It could be considered as taking this opportunity to clarify the outsider's speculations about Xiaobao, and also to prevent anyone from making a fuss about Xiaobao not speaking in the future. However, Lu Chongshan directly ignored Xiaobao's impolite words of, "You're not worthy." He did not have the slightest intention of apologizing. Very well done. As expected of Lu Chengshan's grandson. Sigh, since it's a misunderstanding, it's good that it's cleared up. Yes, yes. Some people out there like to make trouble out of nothing. Children are young and lack the ability to distinguish between things. Furthermore, they're innocent, so it's inevitable that they'll make mistakes easily. The slippery guests all began to smooth things over. Guan Jichin also apologized under Guan Rui's stern warning gaze. Lu Chengshan's original fury had vanished into thin air because of Xiaobao's earth-shattering words. He was in a good mood and did not want to cause any unpleasantness on such an occasion. Thus, he generously let this matter pass. At the same time, Guan Ziao was holding Yin Rui's arm and explaining guiltily, "Auntie, I'm so sorry for what happened today. Although our Ji-chan has always been very strict, he was also spoiled by everyone since he was a child, just like Xiaobao. This was the first time he was beaten since he was born. He was so sad that he said something like that in a moment of excitement. It was really unintentional. Auntie, please don't take it to heart." As Guan Ziao spoke, she called Guan Jichin, who had tried her best to persuade him, over. Guan Jichin lowered his head to hide the anger and unwillingness in his eyes. "Grandma Lu, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I really didn't do it on purpose." Yin Rui looked at the red handprint on Guan Jichin's face and sighed. "All right, don't blame yourselves. It's fine now that the misunderstanding has been cleared up. Ziao, take Jichin to get some ice cubes. Your father was a little too heavy-handed." Hearing that Yin Rui's tone had softened, Guan Ziao was slightly relieved. She nodded and left with Guan Jichin. Although the Lu family would definitely not pursue this matter on the surface, there would definitely be a knot in their hearts. It seemed that she had to make her father restrain himself during this period of time. Chapter 856. In fact, when her father said that he wanted to bring Jichin along, she didn't quite agree. After all, with Xiaobao's condition, it was inevitable that he wanted to show off by bringing Jichin along. However, her father said that they needed a chance to show off since they had just returned to the capital after such a long time. Moreover, she could show off the Guan family's genes in front of the Lu family, which would benefit her in the future. That was why she agreed. Initially, they thought that Xiaobao wouldn't show up today. Even if he did, he would only show his face. Who knew? Things would get out of their control. What went wrong? That woman's face flashed across Guan Ziao's mind. From dressing up as a maid to staying at the birthday banquet to pretending to bring Xiaobao here to solve a problem. She wasn't stupid. She clearly had a plan. She had a plan to embarrass them. She and her father had underestimated the enemy and made the wrong assumption. Guan Rui naturally thought of this as well. The father and daughter looked at each other, and for a moment, they both tensed up, not daring to let their guard down. Who knew what that woman would do tonight? Xiaobao recovered so quickly. Was it all because of that woman? Guan Ziao murmured with a frown. Guan Rui's face darkened. That woman went to a diploma mill in China. I don't know what she did to get into USC. However, when he was at USC, he only majored in acting, which was not a popular major. How could she treat a child that even a psychologist like Qin Mufeng couldn't do anything about? Look at that child's temperament and tone of voice. Which part of him looks sick? Although he didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that this child was much better than Ji-chan. In time, he would definitely surpass his father, Lu Tingxiao. No wonder Lu Chengshan and Yin Rui doted on such a good seedling. The worst thing was that the Lu family felt guilty towards the Guan family because Lu Tingxiao had a son and a girlfriend. The Guan family had always been in a dominant position. Now that the situation was reversed, he had to keep his tail between his legs and curry favor with the Lu family for a long time to come. As for that child, he could only think about it at length. As the birthday banquet came to an end, the guests presented their gifts one after another. Guan Rui heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the gift he prepared this time was heavy enough. "Brother Lu, I know you like calligraphy and paintings. I accidentally discovered this cursive calligraphy of Wang Shiji when I was overseas. When I saw it, I immediately thought of you, so I spent a lot of effort to get it. You'll definitely like it," Guan Rui said confidently. Lu Chengshan was a master of calligraphy and painting. He was very accomplished in both calligraphy and painting. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was obsessed with it. Chapter 857. Just as Guan Rue expected, the crowd exclaimed in surprise when they saw the priceless ancient calligraphy. Are you kidding? That's not expensive. Isn't this the calligraphy that was auctioned for 150 million in Zurich? Looks like the Guan family is doing well in the foreign market. It's not just doing well. Didn't you see how close Guan Ziyao is to Yin Rui? I think they're going to join forces. It couldn't be, right? Didn't I hear that Lu Chongshan wants to marry into the Zhuang family? The Zhuang family has always married into a military family, right? No matter how big the Lu family is, they're still businessmen. I don't think it's possible. Seeing that Guan Rue had given such an expensive gift, Lu Chongshan's expression softened a little. Of course, what he was looking forward to the most was Xiao Bao's gift. Xiao Bao, didn't you say you have a gift for Grandpa? What is it? Lu Chongshan asked nervously and expectantly. Xiao Bao raised his head and looked at Papa and Mama beside him. Lu Tingxiao gave a look to the servant, and soon, a servant walked up with 2 rolls of rice paper, ink, and paper. For a moment, everyone looked over with interest. It seemed that the little prince wanted to write a piece of calligraphy for his grandfather. Although filial piety was hard to come by, this birthday gift seemed a little too ordinary in comparison to the exorbitant price of Guan Rue's calligraphy. She helped Xiao Bao grind the ink quietly, while Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli each opened a roll of rice paper and stood in front of Xiao Bao. At this time, people gradually noticed that the little maid had prepared 2 writing brushes. Could it be a backup? Then, Xiao Bao used his 2 short hands to pick up a writing brush. He looked at the rice paper in front of him and calmed himself down. Then, the writing brushes in his hands landed on the rice paper on both sides at the same time. What was he doing? Everyone looked at each other, their faces full of suspicion. In the end, Xiao Bao started writing with both hands at the same time. His left hand wrote, "Fortune is like the East Sea," and his right hand wrote, "Longevity is like the South Mountain." After they saw clearly what little Bao was doing, a wave of gasps rose and fell in the surroundings. He can actually do 2 things at once, and it's written so well. A 5-year-old child actually managed to write the bone-penetrating force. Have you all forgotten that Lu Chongshan is a calligraphy master himself? My grandson won't be too bad. Oh my God. I'm so shocked that I'm numb. This child is blessed by the heavens, gathering all the essence of the Lu family. Xiao Bao's calligraphy was personally taught by Lu Chongshan. However, he only knew that Xiao Bao's calligraphy was pretty good, but it was the first time he knew that Xiao Bao had the ability to multitask. What was even more shocking was that Xiao Bao's wrist did not have much strength in the past. Even if the words he wrote looked good, a slightly professional person would be able to tell that it had form but no bones, and did not have any strength or momentum. However, in just a few short days, little Bao's handwriting had actually become so bold and forceful, and it truly shocked him greatly. At the same time, he looked at Ning Shi with even more bewilderment in his eyes. Originally, he had been worried that letting Xiao Bao be with this woman would have some negative effects, but he did not expect that not only could Xiao Bao gradually speak, but even his physical fitness had improved so much. He was almost certain that Xiao Bao had undergone systematic training during this period of time. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible for him to write like this. Chapter 858. Lu Chongshan was a little worried when he saw that Xiao Bao was going to write for him. Because of his attainments in calligraphy, everyone had high expectations for Xiao Bao. In addition, Xiao Bao had given everyone a high impression of being a genius, so it was inevitable that everyone would be more harsh on him. However, they did not expect that the result would be such a pleasant surprise for him. He was filled with gratification that he had a successor. This surprise was thousands of times stronger than the precious calligraphy that Guan Rue gave him. Good calligraphy. Just as the guests were exclaiming, a powerful voice suddenly came from behind. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a middle-aged man in a military uniform striding over from the gate. The man was tall and straight with a determined face. It was the general of the Zhuang family, Zhuang Liaoyuan. Chief Zhuang, sorry for not going out to meet you. Sorry. When Lu Chongshan saw him, he immediately greeted him with a face full of smiles. Chairman Lu, don't mention it. I was busy with the army, so I'm late. Please forgive me. Zhuang Liao Yuan also said politely. Of course, it's business. Chief Zhuang, please come in. Zhuang Liao Yuan walked straight to the calligraphy that Xiao Bao had just written. After a closer look, he was full of admiration. This calligraphy was written by your grandson? Yes. It's a birthday gift from my grandson. Lu Chongshan looked proud. Zhuang Liaoyuan glanced at the little boy beside him and nodded. That's rare. At such a young age, he can write so well. Chairman Lu, this child has learned all your skills. Zhuang Liaoyuan was talking with Lu Chongshan. When he accidentally saw Ningxi beside Xiao Bao, he couldn't help but be stunned. Ningxi also recognized Zhuang Liaoyuan, but it was not appropriate to talk to him in this situation. She could only pretend that she didn't know him and continued to lower her head. Zhuang Liaoyuan also came to his senses and quickly recovered his surprised expression. However, when his eyes fell on Lu Tingxiao, his eyes instantly turned cold. Because of the arrival of Zhuang Liaoyuan, the atmosphere in the banquet hall became lively again. After all, such a prominent red family was the target that many people wanted to make friends with. Most importantly, such a top-notch aristocratic family rarely interacted with other wealthy families. It was only on occasions like Lu Chongshan's birthday banquet that he could show his face. It was a rare opportunity for him to speak. As for Guan Rue, his nerves immediately tensed up. He also knew that the Zhuang family and the Lu family had the intention of getting married, so he wanted to quickly think of a way to test the intentions of their biggest competitor. Deep into the night, the birthday banquet finally came to an end, and the guests left one after another. Xiao Bao followed Lu Tingxiao to see the guests off, and Ningxi went to the small garden alone to get some fresh air. He was sitting on the swing, holding his chin as he excitedly recalled the domineering and handsome scene of Xiao Bao. Suddenly, he noticed that someone seemed to be slowly approaching from behind. Moreover, he could tell from the sound of the footsteps that it was a martial artist. Thus, Ningxi stood up with a whoosh and looked behind her warily. In the next second, his vigilance turned into astonishment. It was Zhuang Liaoyuan. Why did he come here? He couldn't possibly be here to look for her, right? That boy treated you like this? Ningxi was puzzled. Zhuang Liaoyuan suddenly looked at her and said. When Zhuang Liaoyuan said this, the expression on his face looked very displeased and even a bit cold. Ningxi was confused by this sudden question. Chief Zhuang, who are you talking about? Was he talking to her? Chapter 859. Zhuang Liaoyuan's sharp eyes looked up and down at her servant's attire. There was obvious anger in his eyes. Lu Tingxiao, you are his girlfriend. Why do you have to dress like this for his father's birthday party? Ningxi froze for a long time before she realized what Zhuang Liaoyuan meant. She hurriedly explained, Ahem, no, it's not like that. Chief Zhuang, you misunderstood me. It's a long story. Anyway, he didn't ask me to dress like this. He doesn't intend to disclose your relationship? Zhuang Liaoyuan still looked serious. Ningxi frowned slightly. This kind of personal question, wasn't it a bit too much? However, looking at Zhuang Liaoyuan's determined face and his kind eyes, Ningxi hesitated for a moment before replying, the main reason is because of my current profession. That's why I can't disclose it to the public. You should know that as an actress, you have to do a lot of things. Zhuang Liaoyuan looked a bit relaxed and then said, I saw your movie. You acted very well. Ningxi's eyes widened. What did you watch my movie? Is it The World? Zhuang Liaoyuan nodded. Yes, you played the female general. Very good. It took Ningxi a long time to recover from her excitement. She blushed and said gratefully, Thank you. Thank you for your compliment. She had thought that Zhuang Liaoyuan would look down on her after knowing her profession, but to her surprise, he didn't look down on her at all. He even said that he had seen her movie and praised her for her acting. Moreover, his expression was very serious. It didn't seem like he was faking it at all. He really thought so. You didn't use a stunt double in this movie, did you? Zhuang Liaoyuan asked with certainty. Ningxi nodded and answered embarrassedly, Yes, I didn't know you were a martial artist, right? Zhuang Liaoyuan asked with interest. When it came to acting, the atmosphere suddenly became relaxed. Ning Shi's mood also relaxed, and she inadvertently opened the conversation box. No, I just practice. Before I officially became an actress, I was a martial arts stunt double. When I played small roles abroad, I often played similar roles. Abroad, Chinese kung fu is highly respected, so they often need some Eastern roles with good kung fu. It's not easy for a girl to struggle in a foreign country at such a young age. Zhuang Liaoyuan sighed in his heart. With this child's condition, if she wanted to earn money and make a living, there were countless ways, but she chose the most bitter and difficult one. Ningxi couldn't remember how long it had been since someone cared about her like this. She was touched and smiled. No, acting is my dream. I do what I like to do, so it's not hard at all. Zhuang Liaoyuan nodded in agreement. Fair enough. This child is really not bad, and his attitude is also very good. Zhuang Liaoyuan's expression became even more approving. Then he said seriously, girl, you are a smart person. I think you should know that a family like the Liu family isn't very suitable for you. I won't say anything else. Just remember, if you change your mind one day, you can come to me at any time. I have many outstanding single young men here, and all of them are good men. I'm sure you'll like one of them. Ningxi was a little dumbfounded. Zhuang Liaoyuan's tone was like, I have so many good young men for you to choose from. Quickly abandon Lu Tingxiao. Chapter 860. Could it be that she had misunderstood? Zhuang Liaoyuan's tone seemed to say, I have so many good young men for you to choose from. Quickly abandon Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi was in a dilemma about how to return to Zhuang Liaoyuan when her waist suddenly tightened. She was caught off guard and was pulled into a firm embrace. Then, a cold voice sounded from above her head. General Zhuang, it's not the behavior of a gentleman to ruin a marriage for no reason. Ningxi, oh no, the devil, had arrived, and she had also heard what Zhuang Liaoyuan had just said. Ningxi swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She suddenly felt that her neck was very cold, and a gust of cold air was drilling into it. She subconsciously struggled, trying to avoid some of the cold. In the end, her waist was immediately gripped even tighter, and she almost couldn't breathe. Thus, she decisively curled up and didn't dare to move anymore. Zhuang Liaoyuan's expression was calm as he looked at the gloomy man in front of him. I seem to have only said, in case she changes her mind. Ningxi didn't have to look to know how terrible the devil's face was. She quickly said, Ahem, thank you for your kindness, Chief Zhuang. My boyfriend and I love each other very much. I won't change my mind. There won't be a day when I have to break up with him until the world is no longer there. The moment she finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao's arm that was holding her obviously relaxed a little. Zhuang Liaoyuan sighed and glanced at her. In the end, he didn't say anything. He only said, if you need any help, you can contact me at any time. Come to the shooting range when you're free. Oh, okay. Thank you, Chief Zhuang. Seeing that Zhuang Liaoyuan had left, Ningxi finally breathed a sigh of relief. She turned around and was about to speak to Lu Tingxiao. However, her tongue was suddenly blocked by a man's breath, and she felt an overwhelming invasion of the man's breath. Ningxi felt that there was less and less air in her chest. The worst thing was that this wasn't a kiss, but a bite. She felt a sharp pain on her lips and her tongue was kissed until it was numb. Until Ningxi let out a muffled groan because of the pain. His lips then turned into a gentle soothing, gently massaging the place that was abused by him just now. However, as long as she had the slightest intention of struggling, the other party's actions immediately became crazy again. There seemed to be someone walking towards them. Ningxi anxiously pulled away Lu Tingxiao's big hand that was gradually reaching into her maid costume and pushed his chest, blocking his lips from kissing her again. She said in a serious tone, No, what if someone sees it? After all, today was not a private banquet, and there were too many people. Besides, several little maids seemed to have recognized her and asked her if she was the actress Ningxi. In the darkness, the man stared at the girl in the maid costume in front of him. His eyes seemed to be suffused with the light of a wild beast. He faintly said, "So what if I see it? I see you. I'll bite you to death if I see you." Ningxi glared at him. When it came to matters of principle, she definitely wouldn't give in an inch. Seeing the girl glaring at him, the man's dangerous and cold eyes suddenly revealed a somewhat aggrieved look, like an injured beast. Finally, he pressed her hard into his arms, buried his head in her neck, and said in a muffled voice, "When can I tell everyone that you are my?" Chapter 861. Ahem, this. Ningxi also felt a little guilty, so she quickly softened her tone and touched his back. "There will definitely be such a day. Don't worry, don't worry. Ningxi, I once said that the only thing you need to consider is whether you love me or not. Now, my words are still valid. As long as you agree, you will be my wife. No one and nothing can stop you." Lu Tingxiao was promising her that no matter his family or anything else, it would never affect his decision. "I know. Don't listen to Zhuang Liaoyuan. He doesn't know the situation. He may think that you deliberately don't want to disclose our relationship, so he said those words. Well, by the way, what did Zhuang Liaoyuan mean by saying those words to me today?" Ningxi asked in confusion. "After the shooting range last time, he may have secretly investigated your identity." Lu Tingxiao answered, and a glimmer of darkness flashed across his eyes. Ningxi frowned. "You mean, he found out that I am the adopted daughter of the Ning family, or he knows that I am his niece? So he came to care about me? But the Zhuang family doesn't even recognize Zhuang Lingyu. How can he care about me? It was completely illogical. Can't you see that Zhuang Liaoyuan likes you very much?" Lu Tingxiao said in a displeased tone. It was the feeling of being coveted by someone else as his treasure. He was extremely unhappy. "Oh, really?" Ningxi was a little surprised. She just felt that Zhuang Liaoyuan was quite gentle to her. "Because of your talent in shooting, his son is useless, so he pinned his hope on you. He may even want to recruit you into the army. So, you'd better stay away from him." Lu Tingxiao warned her seriously. Oh. Ningxi nodded. "I told you last time that I would never join that army. Besides, there is no freedom in that place. If I don't see you for half a month, I will miss you so much." Until now, Lu Tingxiao's frosty face softened a little. He hugged her, kissed her lips, and fixed his eyes on her. "Ningxi, remember what you said today. I won't give you any chance to change your mind until that day comes." "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I disturb you?" Lu Jingli covered his eyes with his fingers, looking as if he was not looking at something indecent, if only his fingers weren't so wide open. Lu Tingxiao. Yes. It seemed like someone was causing trouble. "Brother, you'll know once you take a look." After a while, Lu Jingli, Lu Tingxiao, and Ning Shi stood outside the yard. He saw a large bouquet of black flowers placed at the entrance of the courtyard. Under the light, he could vaguely see the sparkling dewdrops on the flowers, reflecting a cold light and an ominous aura. "This is..." Looking at the bouquet of flowers, Ningxi frowned. "If I'm not mistaken, this flower is black datura?" Lu Jingli nodded. "That's right. Aren't you trying to pick a fight by giving her a black and inauspicious flower on her birthday?" Ningxi's eyes flickered, and she subconsciously glanced at Lu Tingxiao, feeling inexplicably uneasy. She recalled the flower language of the black datura, revenge. Was she thinking too much? Chapter 862. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao's face was expressionless. No one knew what he was thinking. "Should we check the surveillance footage?" Ningxi asked tentatively. Lu Tingxiao tapped on his phone a few times and pulled up the surveillance footage. After watching it several times, they realized that the bouquet of flowers had appeared out of thin air. Ningxi frowned. A part of the surveillance footage was deliberately erased. Otherwise, how could these words appear out of thin air? It was obvious that someone had tampered with the footage. Lu Jingli snorted disdainfully. "Insignificant tricks. How dare you play this trick in front of my brother?" Lu Tingxiao clicked on his phone a few more times. He seemed to be running some kind of software. After a few minutes, he clicked on the surveillance footage again. This time, a figure finally appeared in the video. In the video, a man was approaching from afar. The man was wearing a black shirt and black pants, almost blending in with the night. He was holding a large bouquet of black flowers as he slowly walked towards the door. He bent down and put down the black datura. He stood up and looked at the bustling crowd in the yard. The lighting was dim and the man was wearing a black mask, so they couldn't see his face clearly. They could only see a blurry shadow. He stood there for a long time in silence. A moment later, the man suddenly raised his head and looked straight at the surveillance camera. From their point of view, it was as if the man was looking straight at them from the video, exuding an evil and arrogant provocation. After a glance, the man turned and left. A few black petals fell from his body and his figure disappeared into the dark night. "Brother, I've checked. It's just a bouquet of flowers. There's nothing dangerous. I guess it's just a prank," Lu Jingli said. Lu Tingxiao picked up the bouquet, glanced at it, and put it in Lu Jingli's hand. "Throw it away." "Oh." Lu Jingli nodded. "Lest old master sees it." She subconsciously glanced at the darkness behind her and followed Lu Tingxiao. What kind of person is this? Why would he send such flowers on such a day? Don't mind him. He's just a bored person. Lu Tingxiao patted her head, as if he didn't care about it at all. At this time, a panting voice came from behind, and a little maid anxiously said, "Young master, so you're here. Master and old madam invite you over." "Okay," Lu Tingxiao said and said to Ningxi, "Wait for me. Don't run around." Yes, I know. Go now." After Lu Tingxiao left, Ningxi stared blankly at the gate for a while. This kind of small matter of sending flowers to disgust people was naturally not worth mentioning to Lu Tingxiao. However, the man in the monitor just now, why did he give her an inexplicable feeling of familiarity? In the study. "Come, have a seat." Lu Chongshan didn't waste any more time and asked impatiently, "Tingxiao, Lil Bao's wrist strength seems to have improved tremendously. His gait and posture have also changed, and his spirit is much better than before. Did he do any training during this period of time?" "Yes, I hired a teacher for him," Lu Tingxiao answered. "Xiaobao is willing to learn? So far, I'm doing pretty well." "I see. Good. Lu Chongshan nodded his head with a gratified look. Chapter 863. By the way, Tingxiao, are you living with Xiaoxi now? Yin Rui asked casually. Lu Tingxiao said, "No." Yin Rui looked a bit helpless, but then she looked as if she had expected it. She knew her son wouldn't be so fast. Alas, with her son's character, even if he dated her, it would be a long time before he could get her. Yin Rui stopped thinking and immediately suggested, "Are you afraid of being photographed by reporters? Why don't you buy her a detached villa? At that time, you and Xiaobao can also live there." Lu Tingxiao took a look at his mother. Yin Rui also knew that she seemed to have changed her attitude a little too quickly. She coughed lightly and said, "What I mean is, both of you are usually so busy, especially that girl. In this line of work, she gets up early and goes to work late. Who would care about Xiaobao? It's more convenient for you two to live together. When the time comes, I'll send a few trustworthy servants to deliver it to you. Isn't that great?" Lu Chongshan seemed to agree with her and said, "Put the villa under her name. She has been taking care of Xiaobao for so many days, so it's only right for her." The two of them had acknowledged Ningxi's influence on Xiaobao and hoped that she could spend more time taking care of and teaching Xiaobao. However, they still couldn't be completely at ease, so they proposed to assign a few servants to him. In fact, it was a kind of surveillance. "No, we're fine now." Lu Tingxiao knew what they meant and refused. Lu Chongshan frowned. "How is it fine now? Xiaobao can't see you when you're busy, and even when you see him, you have to do it secretly. That's why I said there's something wrong with her career. She can do something else after she retires." "Yes, wouldn't it be better if she could resign and focus on taking care of Xiaobao? We won't mistreat her." Lu Tingxiao was silent for a while as he watched his parents echo each other. Then he said unhurriedly, "So, Mom and Dad, do you want her to be a full-time housewife after resigning?" Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui were dumbfounded upon hearing those words. Full-time housewife? Full-time housewife. They clearly meant that the woman should be Xiaobao's nanny and tutor. This brat clearly knew about it, yet he purposely said such words to stop them. Lu Tingxiao, if that's what Mom and Dad want, I can consider it, Yin Rui said helplessly. Tingxiao, there are so many beautiful and outstanding girls out there. Why do you have to choose her? In the past, he thought that his son didn't like women. Now that he was sure that he could like girls, why couldn't he like other girls who were more outstanding and more worthy of him? Ziyao is hundreds of times better than her in terms of family background and knowledge. Lu Chongshan's face was also filled with displeasure. Lu Tingxiao stood up, straightened his sleeves, and turned to leave. Before he left, he paused and said, "I can only be hard on her." Lu Chongshan, Yin Rui. Lu Tingxiao turned around expressionlessly and added, "If you still want a granddaughter, please treat your granddaughter's future mother well." After he finished speaking, he walked away, leaving Lu Chongshan and Yin Rui dumbfounded on the spot. Chapter 864. After a long while, the two elders finally snapped out of their daze. This rascal. How can he talk to his parents like this? Yin Rui didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at Lu Chongshan anxiously and asked, "Chongshan, do you think Tingxiao is telling the truth?" "How would I know?" Lu Chongshan said angrily. "The more I think about it, the more I think it's possible. Otherwise, why would your son be so devoted to that woman?" Lu Chongshan's face darkened and he didn't say a word. Indeed, if Lu Jingli had said something that sounded like a bluff, he would have slapped him across the face. However, it was his eldest son who said it. Given his condition all these years, it did seem plausible. 5 years ago, they had been too worried and used some extreme measures, which worsened his condition and made him more averse to women. Perhaps there really were unforeseen repercussions. Yin Rui seemed to have thought of something and suddenly became a little excited. She paced back and forth in the room excitedly and said, "Ah, a granddaughter. If only I could have another granddaughter. That girl is so beautiful. The girl she gives birth to will definitely be very beautiful. Xiaobao won't be lonely anymore and will have a companion." Lu Chongshan's face darkened as he listened to Yin Rui's rambling. "What are you talking about?" In fact, although he said that, his expression was one of extreme yearning. He had never had a daughter in his life. His sons were more worrisome than the one before. Needless to say, he yearned for a considerate girl. If he could really have an adorable granddaughter. No, stop it. He couldn't fall into that rascal's trap. However, Lu Tingxiao's move was too ruthless. He had completely pinched the two elders' weak spot. Once he mentioned his granddaughter, he couldn't stop looking forward to it. Oh my adorable granddaughter. At the Platinum Palace, Ningxi carefully placed Xiaobao, who had fallen asleep on the road, on the bed and tucked him in. Ningxi lay on the edge of the bed and stared at Xiaobao's soft, fair face. She couldn't get enough of it. "Lu Tingxiao, our baby is so handsome tonight, isn't he?" Lu Tingxiao said, "Yes, whatever I want." Looking at Lu Tingxiao's serious expression, Ningxi almost laughed out loud. Yes, up to you. Thanks to you, I almost couldn't control myself when Guanjichan said that he couldn't say anything decent. Fortunately, you winked at me. But what if Xiaobao didn't say anything in that case?" Ningxi asked. "Lu Tingxiao, go for another DNA test?" Ningxi was speechless. Lu Tingxiao's son couldn't possibly be so useless, right? He was quite confident in his own genes. There's no need for that now. Xiaobao is indeed your son. Like father, like son. Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao suddenly stared at her. "Yeah, what's wrong?" Lu Tingxiao seemed a little hesitant, but in the end, he still said, "Do you mind?" "Mind what?" Ningxi was puzzled. "Xiaobao isn't your biological son," Lu Tingxiao asked, looking a little nervous. Ningxi blinked her eyes and blurted out without thinking, "How could I possibly mind? Even if Xiaobao isn't your biological son, I wouldn't mind at all." Chapter 865. She liked Xiaobao because he was Xiaobao. It had nothing to do with who gave birth to him. She didn't know why, but she liked him. She liked him from the first time she saw him. She felt happy and satisfied just by looking at him. Hearing Ningxi's answer, Lu Tingxiao was speechless. "Fine." He didn't ask. "Oh yes, Lu Tingxiao, what did your parents talk to you about last night?" Ningxi was sure it had something to do with her. Therefore, he was more or less concerned about it. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her and answered, "We talked about our daughter." "Huh, we don't have a daughter. Damn it. Did you lie to them that I'm pregnant? How am I going to get a child for them?" Ningxi looked nervous. Lu Tingxiao said, "No." Before Ningxi could breathe a sigh of relief, Lu Tingxiao continued, "I said I can only be hard on you. If they want to give Xiaobao a sister, they can only rely on you. So, they have to treat you well." Ningxi was dumbfounded. "What? Damn it. You're even more exaggerated this time." He might as well say she was pregnant. Lu Tingxiao looked at her darkly. "I didn't lie." Ningxi narrowed her eyes. "Oh no? Have you tried it with other women?" Lu Tingxiao said. "No need. Then how do you know? You can only do it with me. Besides, if you can't be hard on other women, where did Xiaobao come from?" Ningxi thought of this crucial question. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened, as if he had been reminded of something taboo. Ningxi knew he didn't like this question, so she had never mentioned it. She didn't pay attention today and blurted it out. "Well, I was just asking." "You don't have to answer me," Ningxi said hurriedly. Everyone had things they didn't want to talk about, so she never cared about Lu Tingxiao's past. Lu Tingxiao pinched his forehead and stayed silent for a while. After a moment, he looked at her and sighed softly, saying, "I've never touched a woman. My parents were very worried about this, and they even suspected that I liked men. When I proved to them that I didn't even like men, they seemed to be even more worried. 5 years ago, they teamed up with Jingli to drug me and gave me a woman. I don't have any memories of that time, but I only had that one time. So, Xiaobao should have been there that time." After hearing this, Ningxi's eyes almost popped out. She didn't expect that Lu Tingxiao's first time would be so tragic and miserable. This is too much of a scam. No wonder Lu Tingxiao didn't want to talk about this. For a man, this kind of thing was really hard to talk about. Moreover, from Lu Tingxiao's tone, it seemed like he had been given a large dose of drugs. He didn't even have the ability to move. So, the situation at that time couldn't have been. He was the one being raped, right? Ugh, cough, cough, cough. I can't continue thinking about the suppressed Great Demon King. After that, not even medicine has any effect on me," Lu Tingxiao said coldly. Ningxi, cough. It seemed like he was traumatized. "How tragic. In fact, before I met you, I always thought I was asexual," Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi raised an eyebrow. "Asexual?" Lu Tingxiao nodded and pulled her into his arms. "So, without a doubt, you are my one and only." Chapter 866. Before the shooting of Ningxi's new movie, Lin Jiji helped her to shoot a magazine cover, attend several brand ribbon-cutting events, and attend fashion banquets. She spent the rest of her time in the studio. She had invested all her money in the studio. Now that her career was on the right track, she could finally get out of poverty. In addition, the studio had also stopped losing money and started to make a profit. Looking at the balance on the card rising little by little, Ningxi felt incomparably satisfied, and at the same time, she was even more motivated. After finishing a job in the morning, she immediately rushed to the studio in the afternoon. She was busy with her work when a troublemaker came. "Damn it, Jiangmai, I'm really busy today. Can't you see that I'm preparing a project? I have to go to a very important client tomorrow morning." She was speechless that Jiang Mai actually came looking for her in the studio. "Hey, where's your professional attitude? Where's your sense of responsibility? You didn't even go to the premiere of your own movie. You only know how to do your part-time job. Jiang Mai said indignantly. Ningxi was speechless. Bullshit. I only made a cameo appearance in that movie for a few minutes. Jiang Mai was referring to the movie in which she had made a cameo appearance in His First Love, which had just been released. She had never seen him so enthusiastic before. He only went to the world because she had reminded him. This time, he was crazy. Not only did he want to go in person, but he also dragged her along. That was enough. In the end, Ningxi was dragged to the premiere of the movie. We Are 18-inch was one of the more popular youth-themed films in the market recently. The youthful school background, the combination of a famous director and a little fresh meat, as well as sufficient investment and overwhelming publicity, meant that the box office would not be too bad, even if the film's shooting period was less than a month. Sure enough, with the help of Jiang Mai's extraordinary popularity, the cinema was almost full. Jiang Mai was full of pride from beginning to end. Do you feel my popularity? Ningxi lowered the brim of her hat, leaned back in the chair, and glanced at him. Golden Retriever, as a friend, I still want to remind you that you can change your career. Are you going to be an idol for the rest of your life? Jiang Mai squinted at her. What else? Look at this brother's natural-born idol face. If I insist on saying that I have strength, would anyone believe me? Even if I fought with my life on the line and really relied on my strength, people would still say that I relied on my face. I can't be bothered to torment myself. Ningxi wanted to comfort him, but the next second, he said, "This is the trouble of being too handsome." Ningxi didn't say anything. Soon, the movie began. Back then, Shin Mion's first film, Stars, Moon, and Sun, was the pioneer in youth films. Later, Love in the Future continued to shine. Therefore, Ningxi originally had high hopes for this film. However, she almost fell asleep when she read the latter part. Although she had noticed that Shin Mion's films had been too commercialized in the past few years, every one of them had its own merits. However, this novel was completely created for the sake of creation. Under the guise of youth, for the sake of conflict in the plot, cliché plots such as abortion, love triangle, and cheating were abruptly and deliberately mixed in. There was almost nothing new to speak of, not to mention the positive energy that should be conveyed to the young audience. Chapter 867. How was this a teen drama? It was more like an 8 p.m. soap opera. She was so embarrassed. The audience wasn't stupid. Halfway through the movie, some of them couldn't help but leave the theater. Most of the people who were left were complaining. What the hell? What the hell is going on in this movie? Moaning and groaning. Does a teen drama have to have an abortion, cheating on a girlfriend, and betraying the male lead? Can't they be more creative? I can't believe Shin Mion made this movie. And Jiang Mai, is he possessed by Ma Jingtao? How can he be so careless? I thought he had improved a lot after watching his latest movie, The World, and I was looking forward to it. I don't understand what this movie is trying to say. The male lead is a scumbag for the sake of being a scumbag. Just because he can't forget his first love, he made the female lead abort the abortion and did nothing about it. Is he even human? I'm so disappointed. Why did Mu Yi accept this movie? I can't watch it anymore, even if it's because of his good looks. Jiang Mai became more and more silent as he listened to the insults around him. He didn't even need to look to know that his face was dark. Ningxi didn't say anything. She just patted his shoulder to comfort him. As the movie was coming to an end, the audience's anger reached its peak. Trash. Give me back my money. I thought Su Yimo's cold and expressionless Star Ocean was bad enough. I didn't expect this movie to be so despicable. I think there's something wrong with the script. It's bullshit. The whole movie is just torture for the sake of torture. The male lead is still a scumbag. Is this a tragic ending? I won't give a single star. In the movie, the female lead was so disheartened that she finally left. The male lead was drunk and stumbled to a tombstone. Basically, the audience knew that it should be raining at this time. Sure enough, in the movie, it rained from the gray sky. The male lead knelt in front of the tombstone. Then, the scene changed and a memory was inserted. Seeing this, Ningxi sat up a little straighter. Damn it, After waiting for so long, it was finally time for her pitiful few minutes of scenes. In the ward, the male lead's first love was on her deathbed. The girl was wearing a white dress and leaning in the boy's arms. Her long black hair contrasted with her pale and frail little face, but there was a bright smile on her face that was as bright and beautiful as the first sun in winter. Her eyes were unbelievably clean, just like an angel who had fallen to the mortal world. This kind of extreme weakness and extreme purity and beauty formed an extremely sharp and even cruel contrast. On the big screen, the moment the image switched to the girl, almost everyone couldn't help but gasp because of the surprise and amazement. Previously, the male protagonist's first love had always existed in their conversations. It had never appeared in front of them, so the audience actually did not have a sense of immersion. It wasn't until this scene that the audience suddenly began to understand why the male lead couldn't get over it after so many years. No matter which man it was, after experiencing such a woman, it was likely that he would not be able to fall in love with any other woman. Later on, the moment the girl closed her eyes, there was a lingering smile on her face, as well as her love for the boy. It was so beautiful that it didn't seem to be in this world. Chapter 868. In this scene, Jiang Mai held the girl in his arms and cried. He didn't say anything, nor did he make any sound, but it was very touching. He was so sad that he felt as if the whole world was collapsing in front of him. Many people in the audience had tears in their eyes. Finally, the ending of the film was many years later. The male and female leads met at the corner of the street, leaving an open suspense. In fact, almost no one paid attention to the ending. They were still immersed in the emotion of Jiang Mai's crying. Okay, I take back my words. You don't have to pay for the ticket. Jiang Mai's crying at the end is worth the ticket price. Sob, sob, sob. I cried so much. My Mai's acting skills are not bad. My Mai's acting skills are excellent. The point is that his first love is amazing. It's just like my dream girl. She's like the white moonlight in every man's heart. I finally understand what this film is trying to express. Every man will have two women like this in his life. If he marries the red rose, the red one will become a mosquito's blood on the wall, while the white one will still be the bright moonlight in front of the bed. If he marries the white rose, the white one will become a rice stick on his clothes, while the red one will become a cinnabar mole on his heart. Jiang Mai was silent all the way out of the cinema. What do you think of this film? After a long time, Jiang Mai suddenly asked. Ningxi touched her chin. Do you want to hear the truth? Forget it. I don't want to hear it, Jiang Mai said impatiently. Ningxi looked at him speechlessly. He was even more fickle than a woman. This film was originally made to make money. You know it yourself. It can't be helped. I can only say that you were a little unlucky. Shen Mian was especially not in the right state when she was shooting this film. In fact, you were not very focused either. Of course I know. As long as I can make money, why should I care so much? Anyway, even if I make the film, the fans will still buy it. Jiang Mai said, his face gradually darkening. I used to think so, but recently I suddenly feel that it's quite boring. I really want to beat you up. You got something that others might not be able to get in their entire lives without any effort. You can easily get tens of millions of yuan for a film. Even the fans will buy it. Be content with what you have. You're not like me, who treats acting as a career. It's fine as long as you're happy. Ningxi didn't persuade Jiang Mai to take it seriously. In any case, everyone had their own pursuits and way of life. There was no need to force anyone. Jiang Mai still looked as if he had nothing to live for. Why do I need to earn so much money? So what if so many people like me? It's meaningless. The person I like doesn't like me. Who would spend the money they earned? Bye-bye. I don't see money as dirt as you do. I'm going to go back and stay up late to work on the project, read the script, and work hard to make money. Get lost. Will you die if you don't show off your love? Fuck. Which word was I showing off my love just now? Every word. Jiang Mai, you're crazy. Ayaya, my dear boss, Why hasn't he come back from his business trip? I miss him so much. This is called a public display of affection, understand? Finally getting rid of Jiang Mai, who seemed to be going through menopause, Ningxi returned home. As soon as she opened the door, she found that the lights in the house were on. Then she saw Lu Tingxiao sitting on the sofa with a laptop in his hand, working. Chapter 869. Ningxi was pleasantly surprised. She threw her bag on the floor, kicked off her shoes, and ran over to him barefoot. Boss, you're back. Lu Tingxiao put the laptop on the coffee table and took it from her carefully. He put it on his lap. I brought you a present. I don't need a present. You're the best present. Lu Tingxiao chuckled. Did you smear honey on your lips? Do you want to have a taste? Lu Tingxiao's eyes darkened. I remember. Your legs have fully recovered. Ningxi's nerves tightened. She laughed dryly. No. I still have scars. Take a look if you don't believe me. Lu Tingxiao looked at her helplessly. Have you used the scar remover I gave you? This girl, every time she flirted with him, she would be terrified the next second. I use it every day. I don't have a scar, so I won't have any scars. Don't worry. Did you go to the movies? Lu Tingxiao looked at her and asked. Damn, how did you know? Ningxi looked surprised. Lu Tingxiao glanced at one of the bags she had thrown on the floor. It was a small gift for the movie premiere. The name of the movie was printed on the bag. Oh yes. With whom? Jiang Mai. Ningxi felt it was better not to lie in front of the devil. It's all for work. I made a cameo appearance in his new movie. What role? Damn. Why did the great Demon King ask such a crucial question? Ningxi coughed. First love. Before Lu Tingxiao's face changed, Ningxi continued, we only appeared for a few minutes before we died. Whether it was in the last movie or this one, neither of us had a good ending. We were miserable. Although Ningxi felt that her explanation was actually quite childish, it was quite effective. Lu Tingxiao's expression immediately eased a lot. By the way, have you seen Xiaobao? Ningxi asked hurriedly. I came straight here after I got off the plane. Damn, what kind of father are you? Ningxi said with some melancholy. Alas, Xiaobao hasn't spoken since he said you're not worthy at the birthday party. I'm so worried. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her and said calmly, ultimate skills often have cooldowns. Hearing this, Ningxi's eyes almost popped out. Sir boss, you even know this. Do you play games too? The description was simply too incisive. I dabbled in it a little. In fact, he had been learning online language and gaming terminology for the sake of having a common language with her. The next morning, Ningxi woke up early in the morning and checked over the information she had prepared for a long time. She changed into a smart and capable outfit and then set off for the headquarters of SF Company. Her target was one of the big clients. SF is a retailer that deals in high-end luxury clothing and is also the distributor of many well-known brands. Many designers make their works known to people through their brand agency stores. For this reason, Ningxi made an appointment half a month in advance. During this time, she kept reading professional books to learn negotiation skills and related knowledge. She also sacrificed her beauty sleep to stay up for several nights to prepare the proposal. Hello, I'm Ningxi, the person in charge of Zailing Studio. I've made an appointment to come over this afternoon to talk with Boss Wang about the agency. Chapter 870. Zailing Studio, did you make an appointment? The little secretary at the front desk frowned slightly.
Yes.
Wait, let me see. The secretary flipped through the appointment list. Oh, there is such an appointment, but CEO Wang is overseas on a business trip. He is not here. What? Business trip? Ningxi's expression changed slightly. Even if there was an emergency, shouldn't he at least inform her in advance? For this morning, she had even pushed off an appointment with Lin Jiji. But the little secretary opposite her did not look apologetic at all. While busy with her own work, she casually replied, Come again next time? Then, when is the next time? When is CEO Wang coming back? Ningxi asked again. I'm not sure. Wait for my notice. The other party dismissed her with just a few words. After preparing for so long, she had to make another appointment from the beginning. Although she knew it would not be so easy, she did not expect to see the person in person. It was impossible not to feel frustrated. She had no choice but to wait. By the riverbank, Ningxi enjoyed the breeze for a while before her gloomy mood improved a little. Just as she was about to return home, she turned around and saw an old man standing by the railing not far from her. The old man had a cane in his hand. His hair was white, but his back was tall and straight. His back was not stooped at all. At this moment, the old man was staring at the sea, as if there was something on his mind. Ningxi only felt that this person's aura was a little special, so she took a second look. She did not pay much attention to him and continued walking forward. At this moment, an ancient default ringtone sounded. The old man picked up the phone, and then the old man's expression suddenly changed. Not only that, but his expression became more and more painful. Soon, he could not hold on any longer and fell to the ground. Ningxi watched the scene unfold and reflexively rushed forward to help the old man up. Old sir. Sir, how are you? The old man clutched his chest, his face turning purple. His breathing became more and more rapid, and in the end, he was almost out of breath. It looked like he was having a heart attack. Ningxi was about to ask if he had brought any medicine with him, but in the next second, she saw a small white bottle roll from the old man's trembling hand to the ground and roll into the river. Before her brain could react, Ningxi's body reacted on its own. With a splash, she jumped over the railing into the river and fished out the small white medicine bottle before it sank into the water. After climbing ashore, he unscrewed the lid without delay and poured out a few pills. How many? Fortunately, the old man was still clear-headed and mouthed 3. Ningxi immediately fed him the medicine and then did some simple first aid based on her memory. Finally, after a while, the old man's complexion gradually recovered. Ningxi was wet all over. The river water and sweat mixed together. Seeing that the old man finally recovered, she breathed a sigh of relief. Sir, I'll take you to the hospital. No, no need. The old man refused intermittently, and his attitude was very firm. Little girl, please, send me to Chang'an Road, number 7. You really don't need to go to the hospital? But you, don't worry, my body. I know what I'm doing. Little girl, sorry to trouble you. Hurry. Seeing that the old man's attitude was really insistent, Ningxi could only drive the car over and then drove to the address that the old man said. When she was about to drive to the place, Ningxi was slightly stunned. Chang'an Road. Wasn't this the military compound? Chapter 871. Sure enough, as soon as Ningxi reached the door, she was stopped by a guard in military uniform. Please show me your pass. Ningxi could only turn to look at the old man in the back seat. Sir. The old man panted and said, Let her in. The guard was shocked when he saw the person in the back seat. He replied loudly, Yes. Then he quickly opened the door. Ningxi did not know the way, so she followed the old man's instructions and drove to the entrance of a quaint house. Then, she helped the old man out of the car. She could feel that the old man was very weak because of his illness. If not for her support, he might not even be able to stand properly. She did not know what had happened at home, but he insisted on coming back. While he was helping the old man up the stairs, he suddenly heard the sound of a gunshot. The sound came from inside the house. Ningxi was shocked, and her expression suddenly became fierce. At the same time, she was more worried about the old man beside her. If he was agitated, it would be terrible if his illness acted up again. The old man's expression also changed. He quickened his steps and pushed the door open. The next second, Ningxi saw that in the hall of the house, a 17 or 18-year-old boy had fallen to the ground in a sorry state and was trembling. The girl beside him was holding him tightly in her arms, her face full of panic. Dad, Are you crazy? A few steps away from them, a middle-aged man dressed in military attire held a gun in his hand and pointed it at the young man who was being protected by the girl. His face was filled with rage, and his expression was extremely gloomy. There was no doubt that he would shoot the young man in the next second. Looking at the girl and the middle-aged man with the gun, Ningxi was stunned. Zhuang Ku'er, Zhuang Liaoyuan, then this old man is? Ningxi subconsciously turned to look at the old man she was supporting. The old man looked at the scene in front of him and roared loudly, "Bastard! Put the gun down! Grandpa! Grandpa! Save me! My dad wants to kill me!" The boy scrambled over and hugged the old man's leg. Ningxi thought that the old man was going to protect his grandson, but when the old man saw the boy, he unceremoniously kicked him. "Bastard! What did you promise me the last time? It's only been a month, and you actually beat someone up and sent him to the ICU for a woman. The reputation of our Zhuang family has been ruined by you. What do you mean I snatched a woman? It was clearly that brat who snatched my woman. I was so angry that I found someone to reason with." "Shut up. You haven't even grown your hair yet, and you keep talking about women." The old man hit the young man's back with his walking stick. "Give me the family discipline." When the young man heard this, he could only scramble and hide in Zhuang Ku'er's embrace. "Sister, help me. Help me. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I'm also injured. My leg hurts so much that it's about to break. Why do you only know how to scold me?" Zhuang Ku'er was extremely nervous. "Grandpa, Rongguang's body is weak. Last time you whipped him, he almost lost his life. You can't fight anymore." Zhuang Liaoyuan was like a living king of hell, expressionless as he said, "Eat the bullet, the family rules, choose one." Zhuang Rongguang looked at his grandfather and then at his father. Gritting his teeth, he pushed Zhuang Ku'er away and ran towards the door. By the time Zhuang Liaoyuan reacted and tried to stop him, it was already too late. In the next second, Zhuang Rongguang fell flat on his face. "Fuck! Who the fuck tripped me?" At the main entrance, Ningxi slowly retracted her wet foot. She looked calm and said, "Sorry, my legs are too long." Chapter 872. Out of politeness, Ningxi didn't enter but just stood at the door. So Zhuang Ku'er and Zhuang Liaoyuan didn't notice her until now. She was dressed in women's clothes, so Zhuang Ku'er didn't recognize her. Zhuang Liaoyuan was surprised to see her. Zhuang Zongren was annoyed to see Ningxi. "Ku'er, quick, take this lady upstairs to take a hot bath and change into clean clothes. I was sick by the river just now and the medicine fell into the river. It was this child who jumped into the water to pick it up and sent me back." Then he glared at Zhuang Rongguang, who was lying on the ground. "If it weren't for this child, I'm afraid I wouldn't have come back alive." Hearing this, Zhuang Ku'er was grateful. "I see. Miss, thank you so much. It's so cold. Come upstairs with me to change clothes." Ningxi didn't care. "It's okay. I'll go back and change." "No way. You must change your wet clothes as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will catch a cold." "I'm so stupid. I was so focused on teaching him a lesson that I forgot he was wet." Zhuang Zongren felt guilty. "Your health is important. Go with Ku'er," Zhuang Liaoyuan said seriously. Since the other party said so, Ningxi couldn't refuse and could only nod in agreement. "Then I'll have to trouble you." While Ningxi was talking with Zhuang Zongren, the boy at Ningxi's feet rolled his eyes and got up to run out. But Zhuang Liaoyuan had already called someone over. Two young men in military uniforms directly dragged Zhuang Rongguang in from each side. When passing by Ningxi, Zhuang Rongguang glared at her. "Bitch, I." Before he finished his words, he was slapped by Zhuang Liao. "How dare you?" Zhuang Liaoyuan's aura was terrible when he was angry, and if Zhuang Zongren hadn't stopped him, he might have shot him again. Zhuang Rongguang didn't dare to say a word and was taken in silence. "Excuse me." When Zhuang Liaoyuan turned to Ningxi, his expression became gentle. "Ahem. Nothing. Nothing." Ningxi coughed and hurriedly followed Zhuang Ku'er upstairs. Behind her, Zhuang Zhongren looked in the direction Ning Shi had left. Leaning on his walking stick, he let out a long sigh, his eyes filled with envy. I wonder what kind of family can raise such a good child. Zhuang Liaoyuan glanced at his father but did not say anything. This girl has good skills. When she jumped down to help me pick up the herbs, it only took her less than 5 seconds. Zhuang Zhongren sighed. His marksmanship is even better. Zhuang Liaoyuan nodded. Why? Do you know him? Zhuang Zhongren asked. I've met her twice. She's Lu Tingxiao's girlfriend. No wonder you told Jing Shu not to think about the marriage with the Lu family after you came back the last time. Upstairs? Zhuang Kuder took Ning Shi to her room. Go in and take a shower. I'll help you find a change of clothes. Okay, thank you. Don't mention it. Our family should be thanking you. Ning Shi went into the bathroom, took off her wet clothes, and took a bath. When she came out in her bathrobe, Zhuang Ku'er had already prepared a full set of clothes for her. There was also a bowl of ginger soup on the table. She was a careful girl. Chapter 873. Zhuang Ku'er was startled to see Ning Shi come out after washing her clothes. Ning Shi, who had just showered, was wearing loose pajamas. Her naturally curly black hair was slightly wet, and her body exuded a rosy glow. As a woman, her heart couldn't help but race a few beats when she saw her. Zhuang Ku'er was stunned for a while before she came back to her senses. She hurriedly said, Well, our underwear should be about the same size, so I found mine for you. But they're all new, and I haven't worn them before. So are the clothes. And this ginger soup, drink it quickly. Okay. After a while, Ning Shi changed her clothes. Holding the warm ginger soup, she felt much more comfortable and didn't want to move at all. Zhuang Ku'er's room was very cozy and comfortable. The main color was warm yellow, with a lace quilt and a warm velvet carpet on the floor. Zhuang Ku'er's dressing style was also ladylike, so she found a light pink dress for Ning Shi and a camel coat that went over her knees. The material was very warm. Seeing Ning Shi hugging the bowl and curling up like a cat, Zhuang Ku'er smiled. Feeling better? Ning Shi nodded. By the way, my name is Zhuang Ku'er. You can call me Ku'er. I haven't asked your name yet. Zhuang Ku'er looked at her and asked thoughtfully. Ning Shi saw that there was something wrong with her eyes, and her heart was beating fast. Did she recognize her in men's clothes? She murmured, My name is Ning Shi. Just as Ning Shi finished speaking, Zhuang Ku'er immediately said with a knowing expression, It's really you. Are you the actress who played Ming Chang'e, Ning Shi? Yes. So it was because she recognized her as an actress. She was shocked, last time. I dragged my dad to the cinema to watch it with me. He usually only watches anti-Japanese war movies. At first, he was reluctant, but after watching it, he really liked the role you played in it. Thank you. Can you give me an autograph? Zhuang Ku'er said as she ran to find a book. The last time she saw Zhuang Ku'er at Lu Jingli's villa party, she was still quite arrogant and cold. She didn't expect her to be a soft girl in private. As Ning Shi was thinking, Zhuang Ku'er had already brought a pink book and pen over. Ning Shi couldn't refuse her kindness, so she had to give her an autograph. Just as he was about to return the book to Zhuang Ku'er, a photo suddenly fell out of Zhuang Ku'er's book. Ning Shi picked it up and was about to return it to Zhuang Ku'er when she was dumbfounded the next second. Motherfucker? The person in the photo, wasn't it her? Moreover, she was dressed as a man. Taking a closer look, the background in the photo, as well as the way she was dressed, was most likely taken on the day of Lu Jingli's party. From the angle, it was obvious that the photo was taken secretly. Give it back to me. When Zhuang Ku'er saw this, she immediately snatched it back in embarrassment. She looked extremely nervous. Ning Shi was still in a daze. She couldn't describe her feelings at all. She could not help but recall the conversation she had with Zhuang Ku'er. I know I'm not in a position to ask, but is it true? You and Lu Tingxiao really have that kind of relationship? So what if it's real? So what if it's fake? If it's true, then I give up. Originally, I was determined to get Lu Tingxiao. It's because of you that I gave up. I won't fight with you. What a tragedy. Did she accidentally hit on Zhuang Kuer when she was dressed as a man? Chapter 874. Thinking of this, Ning Shi couldn't help but ask, "Is the man in this photo yours?" Zhuang Kuer stared at the man in the photo with sparkling eyes and said proudly, "This is my idol. Isn't he super handsome?" Yes. He's quite handsome." Ning Shi laughed dryly. "Unfortunately, no matter how handsome he is, he already has a boyfriend. Ahem 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 ahem." Ning Shi choked. Zhuang Kuer glanced at Ning Shi and sighed. "Say, why do all the handsome men have boyfriends these days?" Ning Shi couldn't answer. "Do you know who my idol's boyfriend is?" Zhuang Kuer asked mysteriously. Ning Shi shook her head innocently. "I don't know." "Who is it?" "He's my previous blind date." "He's crazy. That's a trap?" Ning Shi looked surprised. Zhuang Kuer rested her chin on her hand and mumbled, "My family has introduced me to a few blind dates before, and all of them are soldiers. My father is a soldier, my grandfather is a soldier, my great-grandfather is a soldier, and my great-grandmother is also a soldier. I really don't want to marry a soldier anymore. Can you understand how I feel?" Ning Shi nodded repeatedly to show that she understood. Later, my mother finally arranged for me to meet a man who wasn't a soldier. At that time, I was actually quite satisfied, even though he didn't seem to be very interested in me and didn't even want to meet me. But that's the challenge, isn't it? So, one time, his brother had a party, and I went, trying to create an opportunity to get along with him. Then, at that party, I met my idol. At that time, I accidentally sprained my ankle and almost fell into the swimming pool. Many people were waiting to see me make a fool of myself. At the thought of being embarrassed in front of so many people, I really wanted to die at that moment. But at that time, my idol appeared. You don't know how handsome he was," Zhuang Kuer said, grabbing Ning Shi's arm and shaking it excitedly. "Ning Shi, I know. I'm often stunned by my own handsomeness." Zhuang Kuer's cheeks were red and her eyes were sparkling. She looked like a die-hard fan. And he was very gentle and attentive. When he saw that I had sprained my ankle, he applied ointment on me, and I immediately fell in love with him. In the end, I found out that he and my blind date were a couple. He actually liked men. I'm sorry. I seem to be a little excited." Zhuang Kuer finally realized that she had lost her composure. She quickly let go of Ning Shi's hand and returned to her standard lady's sitting posture. It's fine," Ning Shi said casually and touched her nose guiltily. Zhuang Kuer looked at Ning Shi embarrassedly. "I'm not a very likable person. I don't have many friends since I was a child. I don't know why, but when I saw you, I felt very close to you. I even felt that I had seen you somewhere before, so I couldn't help telling you more." Ning Shi looked at the girl gently and said with a chuckle, "How could it be? Miss Zhuang is very cute." After all, with her family background, Zhuang Kuer's temperament was inevitably a little arrogant. She always had a dignified attitude and always had a perfect posture in front of others. Naturally, she gave people a feeling that it was difficult to approach her. Chapter 875. However, Ningxi felt that no matter what kind of girl she was, she had a cute side. It just depended on whether you could find it or whether she was willing to show it to you. Looking at Ningxi's serious expression when she praised her, Zhuang Kuer's heart skipped a beat. Is that so? Of course. Miss Zhuang, she is my... What? Zhuang Kuer tilted her head. Nothing. Ningxi shook her head and took back her words. She is my type. She looks cold and tough, but she is delicate and soft inside. She is a typical tsundere. She is one of her favorite girls. By the way, are you acting in any new shows recently? I want to see them. Zhuang Kuer asked with interest. Recently, I only made a guest appearance in our 18 for a few minutes. Other than that, there are no other shows. but the new show has been confirmed. If everything goes well, it will start shooting soon. They chatted for a long time until someone knocked on the door. Zhuang Kuer opened the door. Dad, have you changed your clothes? Yes, it's done. Mr. Zhuang, sorry to bother you. Ningxi got up and thanked him. Ningxi was about to say goodbye when Zhuang Liaoyuan suddenly said, Miss Ning, if you have nothing to do today, why don't you stay for a while and leave after dinner? That's not necessary. It's too much of a bother. Ningxi declined. Not at all. Not at all. You have helped us so much. We should treat you well. Don't stand on ceremony. Besides, I still have a lot of things to tell you. Zhuang Kuer held her arm intimately and looked at Ningxi with a trace of nervousness in her eyes. It was rare for her to have a friend that she could talk to. She was reluctant to let her go. Well, if you don't agree, we will be very sorry. Ningxi couldn't bear to refuse a girl's request, so she finally agreed. Okay then. At this time, Ningxi's cell phone rang. She looked at the caller ID. It was Lu Tingxiao. Sorry, I have to take this. Ningxi walked to the balcony. Hello? Are you done? Want to have dinner together tonight? Well, I don't think I can do it tonight. Ningxi was talking to Lu Tingxiao. Suddenly, there came a roar downstairs. Open the door. Let me out. Let me out. I'm not a criminal. Why should I be locked up? Why? Is there still law? Where are you? Lu Tingxiao clearly heard Ningxi's voice. The corners of Ningxi's mouth twitched as she listened to Zhuang Rongguang's howls downstairs. She explained to Lu Tingxiao, It's a long story. Didn't I go to talk to a client this morning? In the end, I waited for a long time, but it was empty. I could only go back first. When I passed by the river, I met an old man who had a heart attack. Then, Ningxi didn't dare to tell Lu Tingxiao that she had jumped into the water to look for medicine, so she made up a story. Then I helped him find the medicine, fed it to him, and sent him home. Now he wants me to stay for dinner to thank me. What's so great about being an admiral? Just because you're a general, you can just shoot and lock people up? This was a democratic society. I demand proper personal freedom. Even if you're my father, you have no right to lock me up. Zhuang Rongguang was still howling downstairs. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.